I I brought Ann with yesterday, and she had her car, and she had dropped her car off. So we dropped it off at Kentari, but she left all her keys at Kentari, and so we realized, oh my, she can't get in. So I said, well, you can come into my house. No, I have to get home to my dog. All he needs me. So we took a trip to Lexington, and we got home around 2:30. We're here though. So what I want. Get a little bit closer. Okay. It all started out like this. Carol Graham and Jane Finan were good friends, but Jane was more closer to me because we went to the same church, and our kids were real close in age. And I guess I complained a lot about my husband, to Jane, because she was kind of a friend, and because he always was right, always, and I could never do anything that looked right to him. And so Jane said, Caroline, would you like to go to a Bible study? And I said, yeah, I would like. Where do you go? And she was telling me. And I said, the only thing is I have 2 kids, and I had to find out if Tony would be willing to watch them, because he did paint and body work behind the house, and that was our income. And he would work late in the garage. He said, yeah, I'll watch them, just like that. And so I went to the Bible study with Jane, and I began to sense something real from all these people in the room. And they had something that I did not have. And I went then, and then Jane, we did it again the next week. And Tony never complained. I wanted to go the next week and the next week. And so after a while going, I would come home a new person, and Tony didn't like me. He says, I don't know if I like, you're not the person you were. I don't know if I like you. And I said, well, you're just going to have to accept it, because this is who I'm becoming. And he said, okay, or whatever. But he always let me go to Bible study on Thursday. He watched the kids. That wasn't like Tony. And so after I'd been going to Bible study a while, then they came up and told us, they said, we're going to have this conference, and it's going to be in Wisconsin, and you should see if you can go. I said, well, I don't know if I can do that. I'd have to leave the kids. And so I got my mom to help me, and she took the children during the week. And Judy Dunn and Carol Graham and Jane Finan, you were there. No, you weren't there then? Oh, I thought she was there then. And, of course, Sylvia and Linda and a few of them. But there was probably about 12 of us that went up to Wisconsin. So we get there, and I'm just loving this fellowship from these ladies. It's like, I don't get this at my church. I don't have this. There's something different here. And so we go in this building, and they're showing us our rooms and whatever. And then all of a sudden, we have this like little break, like little snacks. And they put, are y'all ready for this? They put Kool-Aid in metal buckets. Remember that? We had to use these, yes. And I said, okay, I'm not going to get shook by this. Because I knew, I met Sylvia, and I had met Judy. And, and I know it. And Jane took me aside, and she said, now, I know you've got some thoughts here, and it's okay. It really is Kool-Aid. There's no problem here. And I said, I'm not worried. I just felt really at peace with these people. And so, let's see, Jane and I became very good friends, and she started working at a Presbyterian church as a preschool teacher, and she needed an assistant. And she said, Caroline, would you like to be my assistant? Oh, I can't do that. I've never done anything like that. She said, yes, the Christ in you can do it. And she filled me with all this new info, and it was real. And we worked a year at that church, and Jane became something that I'd never really been around a person like Jane, but is it good? Good. Come here, Jane. I need you up here when you put your purse down. I was just telling them how I met you and how you invited me to the Bible study, and then how you assured me when we went to Wisconsin and they put the Kool-Aid in the metal buckets, and you took me aside and said, don't worry, it's really just Kool-Aid. And I said, not worried, because see, my life was just kind of rocky, and things weren't good, and I just wasn't approved by my husband in many ways, because he just seemed to be God, and it just really disturbed me. And of course, Jane had heard me talk about, how women talk, and so she kind of knew, and but she took me aside and she said, "Now it's really Kool-Aid." I didn't care. At that point, I didn't care if it was really Kool-Aid or not. But I knew that these people were good people. And so I was just getting ready to tell them, Jane was so precious because Tony did the body work, like I said, and we didn't have a lot of money. It was always just hearsay. Whoever could bring the work in, they brought it. Jane knew this. She had 2 daughters older than mine, and she all of a sudden started gifting me with Shannon's and Kelly's beautiful dresses. And she said, here, take these dresses and let Crystal wear them, and she'll have some pretty dresses for church or whatever, because I still go to church. But because I'm raising my children like my mom raised me. My mother took us to church all the time, and my dad didn't go, but my mom didn't drive, so my dad had to take us. But there were 8 of us, and so anyway, Jane, she just flowered me with these beautiful dresses, and I thought, that's strange. How could a person just give you these beautiful dresses just because? And I just, as time went on, I just saw the beauty in Jane. I saw the love in Jane. And every time she would, what's the word I'm looking for? She would give me confidence. I mean, when I'd say, I don't know if I can do that. And she said, Caroline, Christ lives in you. Christ is in you. He's the doer. And every time be a little bit more information, and Jane was always there. And then like how it happens, you just kind of, let me see if I can find, I had to do this because my memory's not. Do you want to say anything, Jane, about all this? No? Okay. But she is a blessing she's a blessing in my life. Let's see, Rachel. Okay, I got Tony didn't like me. Okay, so I went to this Bible study. We went quite a while, didn't we? Yeah, and then there came a time when there's changes. People go different ways. We moved away from that area. I think Carol Graham had moved. It just changed. And so you go on. But I never, ever forgot and knew what lived in me. Never. from that, I mean, after I had been told and shared, when they had shared it with me, and then it hit, what it did is it infiltrated my spirit. And it was just beautiful. So as life went on, I was free from Tony being Mr. Right all the time. I was free. It didn't let him bother me anymore. But you know, before I think it was maybe when I met Jane, Tony would make me feel so not a person. I would throw up every night after I gave both the babies a bath. It was terrible. But then Jane came along, and we've been at church, but she just saw it. She saw the need. She saw where I needed to be around I needed to go to the right place and see the people. And I did. I just saw the hearts. I saw the love. To be honest with you, I didn't know the spirit that much when I went. But as time went on, then I knew, I knew the spirit that lived in me and what I operated from. But Jane, I would always say, when I would doubt something, she'd even say, do you know the Christ in you? And I had to think, because this is a new group. I hadn't really, I hadn't been around them for a while, and I'm not real good I wasn't real good at understanding my Bible. It was just like, okay, this word. It just it wasn't the time. It just wasn't for me right then. But Jane would always, I asked her yesterday, I said, Jane, did I ever share with you how I would get so upset with Tony, or how I felt like Tony just wasn't fair? And she said, oh yeah. So see, she knew, and she took me in. Well, then this is what happened. We all broke up. And then years later, came Deborah Washington was at the church that I attended. And there was, even though I already knew this, but I had it, but I didn't have it. Deborah was there, and there was just something so deep and real about her, and she was so different from people in my church. And I thought, I wonder, gosh, she should have heard this message. Well, then, this is what happened. Deborah, and let's see, I'm trying to think. Okay, yes. Tony and I had taken a first vacation in years, and Anne Marie, you come up here, Anne. Anne goes to my church. She went to the church, and I met Anne there, and I'm talking to Anne when we come back from vacation, and I said, she said, oh, Caroline, you missed the most wonderful place, the most wonderful group of people. And my eyes are getting bigger and bigger. And I said, where was this? She said, I don't know, because she doesn't know the area around town. And I said, well, was it in Middletown? And she didn't know. So I said, okay. And she kept going on about these beautiful people and the love and the spirit within and where they lived from. And I said, was Sylvia there? Yeah, there was, Sylvia. I said, was Scott there? Yeah. And I said, oh, Jane, you have met the most wonderful group of people. You live from Christ in you, everything you do. It's a freedom. And Anne said, oh yeah, Caroline, you have no idea. And I said, oh yes, I do. And I said, I'm so thankful that you got to go there. And Deborah Washington invited her. So And then I knew Deborah from my church, too, that she was deep in the spirit. I knew it. I knew it. Yeah. So then after that, then a year or so later, I lost my grandson, and he was 16. I raised him since he was 3, and I raised his older brother, and he was 5 years old when I took him in, me and Tony. Well, when I lost Justice, I had a sense of comfort and peace, and I walked down the hallway in the hospital. We'd walk down the hallway and we'd talk. And you know how you pass the little area where you can go in and pray and sit on the benches? Didn't need to. It was right here. And we just talked, and I knew there was a possibility that he wouldn't make it. But I also knew that if it was his will for my grandson to go on, I was okay. And I just had peace, and I had that peace that you don't understand. So then, after that, then I would go out to my parents, and I would just stay a couple nights, visit with them, and then I'd go the next week, in the middle of the week, and I'd stay a couple days. All of a sudden, I'm in the living room early in the morning, like 6:30, and I turn Mom and Dad's TV on. Well, my TV, it gets some stations, but it doesn't get all of them. Mom and Dad in Bardstown, they get Sylvia. I didn't get Sylvia. Well, all of a sudden, this lady's on there, and I look, and I said, "Oh, Lord, that is Sylvia." And you know what? I knew from the moment I saw her that what I had been shared with by many beautiful people, that this was absolutely where I've been living from. Because, you know, you get in, you come to the group and you're new, and you hear this, and it begins to it begins to become you, and you think, is this right? Is this right? But then from this year, and I've known Sylvia since I was 37, and I'm 75. So there you go. But see, with Sylvia on the TV, still preaching sharing the same message. And then she had this liberating secret, and I thought, oh my goodness, what a title. That is the answer. Because I did have freedom, and I did have peace. And I thought, oh, this is real. This has not gone anywhere. This is real. And it just meant so much to me when I saw you on TV, because I hadn't seen you for 20 years, maybe 30. And so to see that she hadn't wavered a bit. She was the same person, and she was sharing, and yeah, the same thing. Nothing had changed. Nothing. And I just thank the Lord, because I knew this is real. This is where the peace comes from. This is why you're my doer. This is why you're my understander. This is why you're my peace. You're my comfort. You're my giver. You're everything in my life.